Hey there, folks. I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and it's Billboard Breakdown. I don't remember. This week feels transitional, and not in a particularly good way. Putting aside any confusion surrounding what week of the Billboard year it even is, it's either a week 53 of 2020 or the first week of 2021, we're stuck coming off the Ariana Grande album bomb with a bunch of questionable entries filling in all the gaps, sometimes for sad reasons, like from the late King Von getting his first ever chart entries, sometimes just to give me a splitting headache courtesy of Nav or the Kid LAROI. Fun stuff. Now, all this makes up for the fact that the top 10 didn't really change all that much. It certainly felt predictable, starting off with Mood by 24K Golden and Ian Dior holding a lock on the number 1. And again, I am not calling this a strong number 1 so much as one that's consistent across the board, where a radio slowdown this week was reinforced by a nice recovery on sales and streaming. The game with this has been played well, and while it's vulnerable, it is solid. That said, Positions by Ariana Grande is gonna make a run for it. The radio run, it's there, the streaming is strong, and if it just figures out the weird sales issues, it's gonna move beyond number 2. What also seems depressingly strong is I Hope by Gabby Barrett and Charlie Puth at number 3. Even if it seems like folks are joining me in souring on this song in record time, and it peaked on the radio, the sales actually recovered in a big way, so I'm not surprised it picks up spots. Fun. Now, granted, some of this is probably linked to Laugh Now, Cry Later by Drake featuring Lil Durk slipping down to number 4, having an inconsistent at best week on the radio, and Blinding Lights by The Weeknd falling down to number 5 because it looks like the radio is finally rotating this out. Long time coming too. Then we got Lemonade by Internet Money, Gunna, Don Toliver, and Nah picking up a slot to number 6. Streaming's rock solid. The radio run isn't faring badly either. But you know what? Returning to the top 10, as I predicted it, we've got Holy by Justin Bieber featuring Chance the Rapper at number 7. I'm just warning y'all now, we're not getting rid of this before 2021. The radio loves it, it's got good streaming, and you just know this is gonna play well over the holidays. Just watch. What legit surprised me was the consistent hold to Kitty by Bad Bunny and Jay Cortez has up to number 8. Yeah, the streaming is just nuts, especially on YouTube, but that's literally all it's got right now, but that was enough. And you know what? It held up over Savage Love by Josh 685 and Jason Derulo, which went down to number 9. The radio's getting rid of it, so it's collapsing fast. Finally, at number 10, we got For the Night by the late Pop Smoke featuring Lil Baby and Da Baby. And I'll admit, this kind of surprised me that it got this high, but it's been consistent on streaming, and it's on a radio run. Ironically, the Woo is doing better on the radio, and I personally would have preferred Got It On Me, but I guess it'll stick around for a bit? Tough to say. And you know what? While we're going there, let's go through our losers and dropouts. In the latter category, the only real loss is Break My Heart by Dua Lipa, but given that she already clinched her year-end list spot for 2020, I'm fine with this song exiting. It had a really solid run. Really, the vast majority of our dropouts and our losers came from Ariana Grande's album bomb for Positions just evaporating. Where in the latter group, we had Just Like Magic down to 98, Off the Table with The Weeknd at 95, Motive with Doja Cat at 80, and 34 plus 35 at 30. Expect this one to rebound with the video coming. It's gonna be big. Then we also had Tap In by Doja Cat down at 86, but again, it was on its way out anyway. It happens. I called it. But as expected, in a week after an album bomb, we had a bunch of songs gained to fill in the gaps, although no returns. Most of those spots are taken up by new songs, and not good new songs at that. But before we get there, we did have 2 tracks recover their momentum, being So Done by Kid LAROI up to 59 off the album boost, and Midnight Sky by Miley Cyrus up to 44. But given that the radio hasn't gotten on board with this song to match the streaming, I'm not sure how long the momentum will last with this, especially coming off the sales. I will say it was a good week for country to recover here. Champagne Night by Lady A up to 75. Good Time by Nico Moon at 74. Happy Anywhere by Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani at 36. But at least thankfully, Ain't Always the Cowboy by John Party Party at 58, and Starting Over by Chris Stapleton at 48. The last one's got some radio traction for a change. Nice to see. The rest are kind of scattered here. Hawaii by Maluma got a huge boost up to number 12 thanks to a remix with The Weeknd. You Broke Me First by Tate McRae's up to 50. BS by Jhené Aiko and Her is at 61. Its radio is surprisingly great, much to my astonishment. And Throat Baby Go Baby by BRS Cash is at 69. It's huge on YouTube, and no, it's not getting a nice from me. Let's keep moving here. Unfortunately, we've got a pretty big list of new arrivals, and I don't have high expectations for the majority of them, so you know what? We're gonna start off with number 99, Fuck You Goodbye by the Kid LAROI featuring Machine Gun Kelly.
It's time for me to move on, so fuck you and goodbye.
I swear, MGK, you built up some goodwill with me on that album, Tickets to My Downfall. Don't start hopping on dumbass guest verses with twerps that don't deserve your time. Case in point, Kid LAROI. And it is really telling how much better production will elevate a song like this. Because it's not like this sort of kiss-off is new material for either artist, but the guitars sound so weirdly nasal opposite Kid LAROI trying desperately to work in a Post Malone warble in your standard trap skitter. It's got nowhere near close to any momentum or atmosphere or muscle, and Machine Gun Kelly honestly sounds kind of depressed to even be on the song. I will give him this, he probably gives it the most dimensionality, where Kid LAROI is all anger that he can't remotely sell. MGK is morose and realizing he can't really get this girl out of his head, so it's probably the one point of the song's saving grace, because the hook isn't nearly as distinctive or memorable. So yeah, more forgettable than outright crap, still mediocre. Next, number 97, Whoopty by CJ.
Blue cheese, I swear I'm addicted to blue cheese. I gotta stick to this paper like blue sleep. Bitch, I'm on my chicken like it's a two-piece.
Okay, maybe it's just me, but if you're trying to sell a hard-edged drill track full of shooting and fucking people, maybe don't call it a whoopty, which is an impressively stupid word in any context, even if it's being used as a gang greeting. But okay, fine. The backing Indian vocal sample, it's not a bad foundation for the shuddering bass, and CJ has a fair amount of barking personality, up until you realize it's very much a Pop Smoke riff with less texture and less impact, especially in the content where he at least has the good graces to send your girl back once he's done fucking her. I mean, my larger issue is that the song is almost entirely driven by a rather longer hook. The verse, it's barely even there, and even if he's trying to sound pretty hard on the song, you're still opening it up with the word whoopty, which is not exactly easy to overlook. You know what, at the end of the day, outside of the popularity of drill, especially out of New York, I'm not sure that has much staying power on its own, so alright, let's move on. Number 94, Therefore I Am by Billie Eilish.
You think that you're the man, I think therefore I am.
Why does this feel like the third time that Billie is starting this album rollout? Not that I'm really complaining, as I've liked a lot of what she's put out in the meantime, but I haven't really been won over completely in the same way that I was by the best singles from her debut album. So I wasn't really sure how much this new song would stick, debuting a week ahead of schedule because it just attracted that much viral attention. It will probably wind up in the top 10 somewhere next week. And yeah, you know what, it's alright, but I'm not getting the feeling of being wowed in the same way I was from her best singles. Part of this feels like it's being structured as a response and a kiss-off to the public scrutiny she's received in the past year or so, most of which has been bullshit for the record. And you know what, it's playing in the same realm of reckoning with success and the press that her past couple singles have been. And Billie Eilish, she can sell disaffected playfulness well, I will give her that. But once you move outside of it, I'm not sure there's that much that's here, because a song like this only serves to feed into that media hype cycle no matter how great it might wind up being. And while Phineas's production is still good, I'm not sure there's much here beyond that. The trudging, bassy warp that contains most of the melody opposite the faint touches of the keys and the pitch-shifted vocals, I mean, it's a familiar texture, and while it's very likable, it doesn't contain the same killer atmosphere that her best songs have, be they even darker or sweeter. I mean, I'm sure it's gonna go viral and she'll see traction with it, but it's not a bad guy level meme, and it doesn't really grab me as much as I would like. It's good, not great though. Just saying. Number 93, Beers and Sunshine by Darius Rucker.
But I think maybe turn on the good times, turn off the TV. Yeah, the only BS I need is beers and sunshine.
You know, when country stars figure out there is a pipeline outside of Nashville to get songs to chart, that's gonna be nice to see. This song was released in August of this year. It's only getting traction in mid-November, and I think that kind of leaves Darius Rucker fighting uphill for a lightweight summer hit, and that might kind of suck. I would say all of that for this if it was good, and unfortunately this is really not. For one, where'd all the husky warmth and body go from Darius Rucker's voice? Does it have to do with all the canned warbles, the fake hand clap, and the crummy vocal pickup on the verses before the hook comes in to bring any sense of warmth at all in the guitars? And yes, it does eventually come, but then we get the subject matter, which is all about putting aside the TV and looking away from the world falling apart because the only BS he needs is beer and sunshine. I mean, I don't even think this would have played in August, let alone right now. So yeah, it's exactly the sort of Nashville product. I get why this made sense to the marketing team, but nobody needs to hear it. And without Darius Rucker's vocals even sounding that good, this is not worth anybody's time. Next, number 84, Young Wheezy by Nav and Gunna.
He rappers is awesome, that hoe she gon' cross him, that wet like a faucet, I look like a fountain. Can't test it like Austin in LA, we golfing, can't take no more losses and we steady count.
So here's a question, if Nav and Gunna team up for a song, will its lyrics even exist? I mean, I'm still kind of stunned Lemonade is doing as well as it is. Honestly, I probably give more credit to Don Toliver and Internet Money than either of these two. But this was named after the producer of this song, and I'm choosing to treat that as an indictment because the weedy synth at the very top of the mix is instant ear cancer. And you hear it immediately, because Gunna sounds so damn lifeless on the mix with no real punchy hook that you will listen for the chalky production, especially in the percussion line, and it just leaps out at you. But okay, fine. Are the rappers saying something interesting? Anything? Well, Gunna's going back to the water references, saying that her pussy is loosening when his dick goes inside of it. And then Nav says he pulls out his dick and shoots it at your girl. I don't even want to think about how many ways that's impossible. Beyond that, it's boring luxury porn, and it doesn't even sound good. At least when 21 Savage gets emotionless, he sounds intimidating rather than these two who are just utterly forgettable when they don't suck. So yeah, nobody's surprised, this is really lousy. Skip it. Number 83, Always Do by the Kid LAROI.
Your face like I always do. Said I was gonna change, both know that I can't. Should I rather take the blame like I always do?
I'm not sure switching from Nav to this kid's an upgrade, because this is going from no personality to this ugly Juice WRLD Post Malone fusion with worse vocal delivery against the gutless trap beat and the faded guitars, and it's obnoxious as hell. And again, it's the same problem as before. Kid LAROI is now trying to sell a song where he's a drunken liar spiraling into all of his vices and looking for an excuse to apparently dump his girl, but he can't sell it in a way that's appealing or doesn't make him sound like a weedy wannabe, especially on the pre-choruses where he cannot croon to save his life. He just sounds really thin, and it's only reinforced by how basic and blunt his writing really is. With this, you should have your performer sell it with texture and swagger if your content's gonna be this basic, but it's too sour and miserable to get there. Just another crappy little song from a performer who really deserves no attention. Let's move on to number 81. Crazy Story 2.0 by King Von featuring Lil
She
Durk.
told me where he be, I say for sure. Baby, let me know if you wanna eat. She like Von, you already know, just put your girl on fleek.
You know, it kind of breaks my heart a bit that King Von was killed before any of his songs charted, and it kind of turns my stomach that there's now a rollout plan by labels to ride off this sort of posthumous success, with King Von getting his first 4 songs to chart here, with the first 2 being with Lil Durk. And I'll get my criticisms out of the way pretty fast. The production's only okay. I think King Von's rhyming style doesn't quite flow as well as it could have here. It's a bit jerky. But at the same time, what I like about it is the storytelling. Even if it might be cliched and you've heard it before, he's trying to paint a picture with the narrative of a robbery that doesn't quite go off well, and Lil Durk plays along with it pretty well. I do think as a remix, it could have afforded to maybe have them play off each other a bit more, show a little bit more dynamics, but otherwise, yeah, it's a decent song. I didn't mind it. But you know what, while we're here, number 77, All These N-Words by King Von featuring Lil Durk.
How you gon' backdoor a nigga you love for a little bit of clout? It's a shame on niggas. How you gon' sit on my car trying to play a little pump like we ain't too dangerous?
Again, I'm not going to claim this is revolutionary or completely mind-blowing. A dark piano line, trap percussion, and King Von and Lil Durk threatening to kill people. Specifically snitches with the 6ix9ine reference that should have that SoundCloud waifu still looking over his shoulder. And you know what? Lil Durk and King Von have good chemistry, and the hook is alright here, if nothing that's going to blow your mind or anything. Overall, probably a little bit better of a song. Not great, not even super memorable, but I wouldn't have said no to more of this guy. Unlike, say, number 76, Tragic by the Kid LAROI featuring YoungBoy Never Broke Again and Internet Money.
But I can't stand it. Them hoes ain't fucking me back then, now they attracted. Effing attached to my bro and he gon' blast it.
Okay, last one from the Kid LAROI, and hey, I can tolerate YoungBoy Never Broke Again a hell of a lot more, so maybe this might be passable? Well, it's where Kid LAROI tries to get on his more sober, aspirational angle where he wants to reflect on his come-up against this slightly brighter piano line, but we're also stuck dealing with somebody who cannot remotely sell this sort of soulful come-up with nothing close to the details we would hope to expect to add personality from, I don't know, like a Polo G or a Rod Wave, which makes a lot of the references here feel once again painfully basic, or like he's a wannabe. Cause he is. Yeah, YoungBoy might sound even more nasal, but there's a level of sincerity in his delivery that feels a bit more credible as he tries to articulate what he would give back of his success to have some of those lost people in his life. And you know what, from YoungBoy, that's believable. So of this week, you know what, I'd like to say there's not enough from the Kid LAROI to stick around, but I somehow think we are just not that lucky. As of now, it's just forgettable. We'll have to see. Next up, number 66, The Code by King Von featuring Polo G.
I don't know, headshots up close, little nigga, I seen it. Gun got dirty, little nigga, I cleaned it. Fuck back, Glock on the bottom with a beam in. Nigga move out and we aiming West Team. Say little niggas down, motherfucker, you ain't mean it.
I'll admit before starting this song, I was starting to wonder what it was about King Von that attracted so much praise beyond a decent storytelling instinct. But with this, I actually got it pretty fast. Yeah, the piano back trap beat is not exceptional, but in a hard song about keeping it to the code of the streets, Polo G and King Von are natural allies, and they fit together pretty well here, even if the content is exactly what you would expect for this sort of song. What surprised me was just how much intensity King Von could really put into his voice. His wordplay isn't quite as deft as Polo G, but he has so much intensity and so much shouting presence, and with sharper flows, I can see why this was being pushed as a single. Generally just solid as all hell. It was what you would expect, but everyone delivered here. I'll call it good stuff. Check it out. Number 65, Don't Need Friends by Nav featuring Lil Baby.
Can't believe it, I really got rich. Tell a bitch or a hater to suck on my dick. Never get focused on hate I receive. I could achieve more than they could dream.
Well, at least Lil Baby might have some personality. Look, I'm grasping at straws here, beyond the fact that, like with Drake's No New Friends, Nav apparently had to recruit a guest star to back up his No Friends song. But we're also talking about a guy who talks about blowing $100,000 to hate his pool, and who pays women to leave him, so obviously world-class intellect here. Honestly, the two things I kind of liked about this exercise in brand name porn is Lil Baby applauding himself is easily the most distinctive moment on the song, and you know what, the watery trap percussion was not bad. Generally a little bit more memorable, and Nav can ride it effectively. But again, if I can't still remember a single good line you have from your song, instead of a lot of your stupid lines and a sound effect from your guest star, help me out. Why are people keeping Nav around again? Just saying, this is not that good. Number 47, Took Her to the O by King Von.
Boy, don't play with me, this bitch a hoe. Met her at the store, you know how it go, she wanna smoke. So I bought some dope and took her to the O.
You know, it does say something to me that the King Von song that debuted the highest was the one that had no features on it. That shows that if he was still alive, he probably could have seen charting success should he have been given the opportunity. He had that magnetism and charismatic personality. originality. And I kind of see why this was the biggest. A very similar piano backdrop, actually a pretty decent hook, and King Von leaning into his storytelling as he picks up a girl, he has to double back when she forgot her purse, and then when she's accosted outside and he's about ready to leave her behind, the goofy asshole coming after her then pitches a brick at his car. So he has to gun him down in the street and then clear off, and hey, the girl's cool with that, so maybe she was cool after all. And I want to make a point with this song here. The story is telling, again, not unconventional, and his flow's a little bit choppy, and it sure as hell does not make him look all that good. He's kind of a bit of a dick as far as I could tell, but I'm gonna remember what happens here far more than your standard bargain barrel luxury rap song, and if that's a lesson that King Von can have left behind to the scene, I hope it's taken to heart. I mean, I think I still like the Code a bit more in terms of intensity, but this guy showed a ton of potential. Gone way too soon. Well, shame he couldn't have seen this success, because this is a damn good song. And finally, number 35, What That Speed Bout by Mike Will Made It, Nicki Minaj, and YoungBoy Never Broke Again.
Bounce that ass, do it how your mama talk to. Real made nigga from the trenches, do no pimpin'. I got 7 figures, bouncing in the car, it look like switches. Let's have a drink out after that, we can leave out. I lead the club, driving fast, baby, with that speed bout.
Am I the only one who thinks we haven't seen Mike Will Made It in a while? I did a quick look through his production back catalog, and I have not seen much from him in the past couple of years. So coming back with a big single with Nicki Minaj and YoungBoy, it at least might be worth some attention. And oh my god, this is a mess. Let me start by saying it's more of a YoungBoy Never Broke Again song than anything, and not a good one for the record, as he's mostly in his lower register, he's not as creative with his vocals, and he's going through some pretty routine luxury rap bragging, but he's probably the most consistent thing about the track, which is not a good thing for this production whatsoever. I was actually pretty intrigued by the intro, where it started off getting a little darker, kind of minor key, and stormy with some build-up in the low end, and then it breaks into this off-key wheedling for the hook that might not be unfamiliar for YoungBoy, but there's no transitional phrase in the melody to make it connect with each other, so it's jerky as all hell. I'm not even sure it's in the same key as the intro, which might have been kind of cool as a shift, but pay off your melodic build-up into the hook, and then maybe even flip it mid-hook or when Nicki comes in, because it's painfully clunky like this. It just feels really disjointed. And then there's Nicki Minaj. I mean, the 2 lines I can cite are word to pop, body smoking like a big blunt, which feels really tasteless from a fellow New York MC. And then the line, fuck a quarantine, because all her people are outside. But you know when it comes to bad taste and fucking stupid, Nicki Minaj is no slouch in that department, as this verse from her feels as phoned in as ever. But I don't know why I'm surprised or disappointed from this from her. It's been a pattern for years now that her fans just will refuse to admit to themselves, just paired now with an awkward experiment from Mike Will Made It, and where somehow YoungBoy Never Broke Again comes out looking the most passable. But in other words, the song is lousy, but it's kind of tough to say whether it's the worst this week. This was not a good week. I think I'm going with a dishonorable mention here on disappointment alone, with young Wheezy from Nav and Gunna getting the worst on the basis of that awful synth line, and the 2 rappers being once again pointless outside of their bad content. Now for the best, oh god, man, it was a rough week here. I'm gonna go with The Code by King Von and Polo G, with honorable mention actually going to King Von as well for Took Her to the O. You know what? Billie Eilish is missing it this week, but Therefore I Am is just not doing much. King Von's stuff had a lot more impact. Hopefully next week things will stabilize into something that's a little bit better, at least not this. Or we're just gonna get an album bomb from Future and Lil Uzi Vert. That's a real possibility, so stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse. And I'll see you next time.